I'm like, dude, I need to puke. We're 30 seconds away from the house and I can't hold it. Need to stop the car, get out of the car, start puking. He films me.
Oh no.
He's like, dude, I had to do that so I can prove to my girlfriend that
Oh yeah.
that you were actually sick.
Yeah.
But the video is hilarious because he's like, I like start puking and he's like, oh. He's he's like, man, you weren't kidding. Man, he wasn't full of shit. Like, and then he's like, get it all out, brother.
Oh God, dude.
Like, oh my God. Welcome back to Oops the Podcast.
All right, lots to unpack here.
I got something for you.
Please.
Giulio, I don't know where you came up with that idea.
Dude, this guy was a huge turkey.
What is this, Japan? Which is one of the reasons why I hadn't told you about it.
No, and I also just assumed you were saving it for the pod if you were going to tell me.
Yeah.
Which, of course you were.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Oops the Podcast. We'd like to thank you again for your patronage and support. We love hanging out with you every week. It really is something that we look forward to, and we appreciate you. I am Giulio. I'm joined by navy blue shirted Francis. Looking dapper.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And slick. I have just returned from quite an adventure. I'm amazed at how much energy I have.
Wow.
Considering how recently I returned and all that I went through to make it happen. And
Tell us about this.
It was physically demanding. And emotionally demanding. So this is the deal. Getting to Nicaragua is not easy these days. Before they had gotten to a point where a bunch of airlines were going there. As it stands, I think I don't know if this is like for everywhere, but the only way to get there from the US, there's only one airline that flies there, and there are not flights every day. So it's not easy, essentially.
Okay.
So this is important.
But if it were easy, everyone would do it.
True. And there's other ways to do it. Like you can go to Costa Rica and cross the land border, which is something we could have done, but we sort of just like found flights directly there. So we're like, fuck it, we'll just do it that way. Now, this is where this is important. So we had a flight on a separate airline to get to Miami. And then from Miami, fly direct to Managua, which is in Nicaragua, the capital of Nicaragua. At 11, so the flight was at 7 a.m. At 11:30 p.m. the night before, American Airlines cancels my flight.
Wow.
Cancels. They're like, select another flight. The next flight the only next available flight was on Saturday. My flight was on Thursday morning at 7 a.m. The next available flight is Saturday. So I would have missed my flight from Florida to Managua, and it was non-refundable, and it is on Avianca, which is just not a good airline.
Yeah.
And I would have eaten that flight.
Mm-hmm.
And there would have been nothing that I could do.
Damn it.
So now you can change them technically, but it wouldn't have fit in with our schedule. We had a very small period of time.
Small.
And we wouldn't be able to get there till Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'd be leaving promptly on, I think Monday Sunday. So it wasn't going to work.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's like, how the fuck am I going to get to Florida? So to Miami. So I start looking at other flights. So now I'm looking at different airlines. There's nothing going to Miami. Everything's sold out. So I'm like, what about Fort Lauderdale? Nothing. West Palm Beach? Nothing. And I'm like, what are we going to do? We're fucked. And Hillary's like, what about Fort Myers? I'm like, that is so far away from Miami.
Yeah.
She's like, well, I don't know. She's like, it's better than nothing. Like, get those flights and figure it out. And then like, you could take an Uber or something. I'm like, an Uber is going to be like $500. She's like, well, I don't know. She's like, I don't know. Like that could work. So there were 2 flights left to Fort Myers on Delta.
Wow.
2. Sorry, not 2 flights, 2 tickets.
Oh.
Not cheap, but we got them. So I was like, we'll try to figure it out. So we end up, and this is so, mind you, flying out at 7 a.m. I'm figuring this all out at 11 p.m. Fucking American Airlines bullshit. And we, by 3 or 4 a.m., I'm like, all right, that's the plan. Go to bed, wake up, ready to take this flight to Fort Myers and try. And I arranged a car that was going to cost $500 because I didn't want to risk, the Uber would have been less, but I didn't want to risk somebody saying that they didn't want to drive that far. You know what I mean? All those variables. So get there in the morning, try to see if we can get standby to Miami. We can't. While I'm on the plane, dude, Brian F. Schultz of Fort Myers, Florida, Fort Myers area. By the way, who's a mortgage broker. If you need a mortgage down there, hit him up. It's a family business. They've been doing it for years. He
This
texts,
is family business.
and he's also an active Oops the podcast community member.
okay.
I've corresponded with him many times over the years, and he's like, dude, I live in Fort Myers. I'm not doing anything today. I'll drive you guys if you want.
Oh my God. What a kindness.
I was like, are you serious? He's like, yeah. He's like, I have to go to the dentist, but let me check or whatever. So my flight gets into
Was his dentist in Miami?
no.
He was willing to skip his dental appointment?
He was willing to bypass his day to drive us to Miami.
Wow.
And it's a fun adventure story, whatever. So now if anything goes wrong during this trip, we miss the flight. So if my flight to Florida is delayed, miss the flight. If there's traffic, miss the flight. So like, it's not fun. It's one of the most stressful fucking things. And at that point, when you're in a situation like that, even if there's just like insane turbulence, you kind of like don't even care.
Right.
You know what I mean? Suddenly, like, it's a good lesson. You know what I mean? It's good to practice that feeling sometimes. It makes you more resilient.
Of what?
Uncertainty, like needing everything to go perfectly, no control.
Yeah.
So everything goes fairly smoothly. Hop in the car with Brian, ripping down the road. Not only, dude, no traffic. We make it on time.
Oh my God.
Make it to the flight.
I've done that drive before.
Yeah.
You cross the Everglades.
Right. Which Big Cypress National Preserve, National Park site, little.
You giving yourself credit for that?
Absolutely.
For just driving through it?
It's a national preserve. It says you are entering the national preserve. There's nothing much to see.
You're sure it's not a natural
I'm positive. Yeah.
jam?
I mean, it's like the Everglades. So granted, yes, like
You missed my joke.
a natural jam.
You said national preserve. And I said, are you sure it's not a national jam?
That's very good.
That's not good. We didn't need to pause for that.
No, we had a big jam segment.
We
so
had jams
I'm glad
and
that you pointed
jellies
out
and
to me.
preserves and marmalades all defined against each other. It was, in fact, your bit.
What episode is that? Is there a way? Good luck finding that one.
Yeah.
No, it's findable, but we broke down the different sort of jam specifications.
One of my favorite things we've done.
That was a fun one.
Clearly it didn't register on your radar.
I just forgot that preserves were a thing.
No,
That-
it's
that went over my head.
yeah.
Anyway, but a national preserve doesn't have a ton of like. There isn't a ton to see usually. It's just kind of like protected land.
Couldn't you do the fan boats?
Probably, but I mean, we didn't have time, but I do count it.
Go tickle
When
some
you-
gators under their chins?
You drive through it for a very significant period of time.
I've done that drive. It's cool.
So anyway, we fucking made it. Couldn't believe it.
Got to Miami, got to the airport,
Got to Miami.
said goodbye to Brian F. Schultz.
Said goodbye to Brian F. Schultz, bid him farewell, and hopped on a plane where we were meeting another person who was a pod person.
On the plane?
No, he had hit us. The person who was hosting us in Nicaragua is a person who found out about me on the podcast.
How long is that flight from Miami to Nicaragua?
My memory serves me correctly. It's like 2.5.
Okay, not bad at all.
Not terrible.
Nothing.
And there we are, Nicaragua, dude.
Wow.
Pretty, crazy to have made it after all that. And then we just immediately got into it. This guy Blake picked us up. He's with his girlfriend Ariana, who did not speak English.
Grande?
But they were
No, couldn't be.
Grande.
Okay.
But nice couple, really fun. But dude, what a wild trip. So we were there, and then we went to El Salvador, and we did a bunch of cool stuff. But there are some highlights, of course, that I would like to walk you through. First of all, I got super sick, which I mentioned to you over text message.
In Nicaragua. When did that happen?
So, dude, it happened at like a pretty frustrating time for it to happen. We went to this like influencer party on the beach in this like surfing community.
Cool.
But they were like Nicaraguan influencers. It wasn't like, you know what I mean? So it was kind of weird, but it was like, if you were like, where are we? You might have said LA. Like there were drones taking video. There were tripods set up with cameras with cool and hot looking people taking multiple photos and doing multiple poses shamelessly and in a safe space.
Cool.
I started to feel sick during
At the party?
Yeah. And I started to feel nauseous, and I'm like, and I was kind of bloated too.
How long had you been in Nicaragua for at that point?
This must have been Saturday night. This was like our last night there.
So you arrived on Friday.
Arrived on Thursday.
Thursday. So you'd been there for 2 nights already.
2 nights, yes.
Okay.
So this is the third The third night, the final night, they planned this really fun thing. It's like this fun pub crawl with like a nice mix of people, whatever, different people from all over. And I started feeling really sick. And it was a tough environment to be really sick in because it was a very big peer pressure environment. Like not drinking was not an option. The bartenders were forcing you to take shots.
Wow.
So like I was hanging on to the same White Claw, Nicaraguan equivalent, for like 2 hours without really getting too much scorn.
You held on to that for that's how long, even as sick as you were. It progressed. It started. I was like, yeah, maybe I can get through this. Maybe it's. And the bartender like forces me to take a shot. I take a shot, whatever. I'm starting to not feel so good. I go like sit over, and like the guy hosting me comes over, starts breaking my balls. He's like, "Come on, dude." He's like, "It's the last night we're here." I'm like, "Dude, I know. I'm just like not feeling too hot." And he's like, "All right, man. Well, listen. If you really need to go back, I'll take you back, but you should stop being a pussy." Basically. And I'm like, okay. That's so tough for you.
I know
that you're so easily rising to the occasion.
I'm trying so hard, and eventually I'm like, "Dude, I need to go back."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Okay." So we get in the car, we're driving back, and he realizes he has his girlfriend's phone. And he's like, "Oh God." Oh, no. And he starts being like, "Dude, Latin women," he's like, "this is not going to go well for me." So he calls one of her friends, and she obviously had handed the phone to his girlfriend, and she just gets on and starts chewing him out in Spanish. But like I gathered some degree of what was happening, and then he filled me in on the details. It was basically like, "What the fuck's wrong with you? Why would you leave your girlfriend?" Da da da. They're like fighting. He's like, "I swear, Giulio was sick." She's like, "I don't care." She like almost didn't believe him. And then he starts telling me all this stuff about Latin women, and like, he's like, they're amazing, but they are a little tougher in certain ways. I'm like, "Dude, I need to puke." So we're 30 seconds away from the house, and I can't hold it. Need to stop the car, get out of the car, start puking. He films me.
Oh no.
Which is funny because he's like, "Dude, I had to do that so I can prove to my girlfriend that."
Oh yeah.
that you were actually sick. Yeah. But the video is hilarious because he's like, I like start puking, and he's like, "Oh." He's
I wouldn't want that at all.
He's like, "Man, you weren't kidding. Man, he wasn't full of shit." Like, and then he's like, "Get it all out, brother."
Oh God, dude.
Like, oh my God. But I got in bed by like 8 p.m. and like was able to just kind of like sit in bed until the next morning at like 10 a.m. long enough to like rise and be alive, and then just kind of like delicately try to survive. So I like didn't eat much that day, hoping, because like it was, the whole 9 yards of sickness, for intense sickness for like 7 or 8 hours. And one of those things where like by getting it out, you don't necessarily feel better.
No.
And have you ever done this where like you're sick and you try to find an exact position?
Oh yeah, of course.
And then once you find it, if you move, like my position was literally this. I had my hands on top of my head with my palms facing the ceiling. And if I had moved one arm 4 inches to the left, fully feeling sick again.
Yeah. Right.
So I moved it back up, and I was able to fall asleep in this position.
Wow. And
it was such an awkward place to sleep. I somehow ended up like hurting my arm, and my arm like really fucking hurt for like 2 days. But dude, it was crazy. But I was really stressed because, Saturday. So then the next day was Sunday. I may be fucking the timeline up. Yeah, I think today's Wednesday. I got back. I must have gotten back on Monday, right? Yes. Okay.
Yep.
So Monday was a travel day, but what we did was something very cool. Was we spent the entire day in El Salvador. In order to execute that properly, we need to take an extremely early flight, which kind of blows. So I had to be up the following day at 4 o'clock in the morning to get to the airport at the right time.
You're saying Sunday morning?
No. Okay. So
Monday morning at 4 a.m. The night of
correct.
Sunday night.
Correct.
Okay.
So like having food poisoning, it's extra stressful when you know that you have a timeline.
Horrible.
So I'm just like praying it's going to be fine. I try to rest, whatever. But then 4 a.m. we're at the airport, and I'm going to El Salvador, and then we landed at 6 a.m. and we were there till 8 p.m. So we spent an entire day doing Bitcoin tourism.
Oh my God.
Which is like super interesting.
What is this?
And Bitcoin tourism isn't even a thing necessarily, but like El Salvador, an official currency in El Salvador is Bitcoin. So like when you arrive at the customs, you can pay for your tourist visa with Bitcoin at the airport.
Wow.
Which is kind of fascinating. And then there's this thing, Bitcoin Beach, which like Jack Dorsey of Twitter has kind of like famously said the way that they're operating down there is sort of like the ground zero of how we could be living in the future as far as like transacting. And
what is this like? Walk me through it. I mean,
okay, so yeah, we'll talk about this now because this is interesting. But so, dude, I'm not even kidding you. There'll be like a hut that's selling, you know, sodas and snacks and shit, and you can buy it with Bitcoin. And
from what, a wallet?
Yes. Okay, so that's a good question. So I was kind of unfamiliar with this, but at Bitcoin Beach, which is like this literal actual place called Bitcoin Beach, you can go and sort of do orientation and like learn about some of the stuff. So there's this like there are these things called lightning wallets, which I like didn't really know about, but it's like better than your like Coinbase wallet in that it's made for like transacting in a practical sense. So like if I have to buy a Coke with Bitcoin and I do it on Coinbase and it like takes a while for the transaction to go through, and like, so the lightning wallets, that doesn't happen at all. And you can like immediately convert it into like a stable coin so that like whoever's receiving the money isn't subject to like the volatility of a Bitcoin or like a cryptocurrency like that. So like I bought a Coke, you know, with Bitcoin. I bought a couple t-shirts and it was cool. So anyway, so like that model apparently many people believe could be a thing that we integrate in the future. Could also end up not being like that at all. But it's interesting to see that they've taken this sort of like big leap over there and are trying this stuff out.
How is it going for them?
I think well, like it's part of the kind of big picture plan they have to be this place that's like friendly to investment. They're building this kind of like Bitcoin city, which isn't, the name isn't necessarily significant. I think it's just kind of symbolic of the future. So like it'll be a place where startups can come and start their ship and not have to pay taxes and blah, 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 blah. They're trying to make all the kids, the young people in the country super tech savvy. They give you an iPad when you're 4 years old. You get a laptop not far after that. And they're like making the kids like literate with all of this kind of stuff. I know that they got some bad press about like Bitcoin price getting crushed and that like affecting some of their stuff. It's like unclear how specifically that is the case, but people seem to like be happy about the fact that El Salvador is getting positive press when like they've kind of mostly only been talking about gang violence there for the past while.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because as far as development goes, El Salvador is much more developed than Nicaragua.
Okay.
It seemed, but that doesn't necessarily mean much. It might not, but like that, like there's still like armed guards at the gas station.
Yeah.
Like the gas station might be like super nice compared to maybe one that you would see in Nicaragua, but like there's an armed guard there. You know what I mean? And apparently they're like cracking down big time on the bad guys and the gangsters and trying to make it so that people aren't deterred from visiting. But it was kind of a whirlwind of a day. They also have like many volcanoes that can kind of like aid with the sort of energy requirements for Bitcoin transactions. So that it doesn't get too expensive and doesn't use up too much electricity.
Wait. Are you telling me that Bitcoin is forged in the fires of a volcano?
No, but
the Ring of Mordor?
like kind of. No, but Bitcoin transactions require a lot of energy.
I know that.
Yeah. So
how are they harnessing the volcanoes? Is it the heat from the volcanoes?
The same way that they would for like a geothermal plant or whatever.
Okay, so it's probably wells.
Yeah, I don't actually know.
They're using the heat from the water around the volcano to create energy.
That makes sense.
That's what a lot of Iceland is powered on.
Yes, someone had mentioned that too. So yeah, something like that. So it's pretty fascinating, dude. And yeah, I don't know.
Did you ask the locals how they felt about the fact that the country was utilizing Bitcoin as a currency?
Yeah. So and
how they feel about it?
They felt good about the plan. This like big picture plan. You know what I mean? And while the Bitcoin stuff is a little complicated, like when I was buying it, the lady at the store had to call the Bitcoin guy to come do the transaction. And it was like a young person. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? He's like 19 or something. Yeah. I have like a funny picture with him. But he did the whole Bitcoin thing. So some people it's obviously complicated and confusing. So some people are more resistant to it than others. But overall, I think that people are really happy that like people are talking about El Salvador in a positive way or in a way that isn't about like murder rate per capita.
I mean, I've definitely most of the coverage that I've seen about what they're doing with Bitcoin in El Salvador has been, I mean, somewhat mocking, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Most people saying like, wow, look at the fact that El Salvador is making Bitcoin a currency, and then all of a sudden it goes down, 70% or whatever. And whoops, mistake.
No, totally. But I think that in both directions, it appears to be like kind of speculative. I think that like there's an element to it that goes beyond sort of the kind of volatility of it.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like. So I guess time will tell, but people seem to be hopeful, and the president seems to be popular.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So it's cool. And yeah. So on the other side of this coin, Nicaragua it feels like one of those places where you kind of just feel like it's maybe a tad bit behind, you know what I mean? Which is, and it might be because of politics or, likely because of that.
It's extremely poor, right? What's more poor, Nicaragua or El Salvador?
I believe Nicaragua.
Okay.
I'm fairly certain Nicaragua is the poorest country in Central America.
Oh, wow.
Ryan, you could double check that, which is a bummer because I think it's the biggest country in Central America. And there's no reason why it couldn't just be another Costa Rica.
Do they have any natural resources?
Dude, I stared into a volcano, and like my whole experience as an adult, as far as volcanoes go, is that they never look the way you thought they looked when you were a kid, when you learned about it in the 3rd grade. This one, there was hot lava, red lava floating.
Oh, man.
It was sick, dude.
That would scare the pants off of me.
It was super fucking cool.
Hey, what's to prevent that from just all of a sudden erupting?
Nothing. And they also don't monitor them the same way that like they do in other places.
Did you hike to the rim of it?
No, we went at night so we could see the lava, and we kind of just drove up there,
Cool.
and looked in. It was
Could
cool.
you feel the heat?
Yeah. And like
Really?
the steam. Yeah, it was sick, dude.
Whoa.
Super, super cool. And dude, they have some of the best surfing on the planet.
Yep.
And, these surfer bum guys, they like move there.
Right.
And it's amazing to me the way the surfing community is so youthful, eternally youthful.
Mm.
These 50-year-old guys be like, yeah, dude, you just got to get in the water, man. Foiling, dude. This like 50-year-old dude was showing me his foiling videos on Instagram.
Nice.
And it's pretty, but yeah, these waves were just incredible. The surf was just like really spectacular.
Perfect. Did you surf it?
No, I did. I was like, not enough time for me to sort of overcome the learning curve and my cautious tendencies when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Right.
But dude, super cool to see. And I had like a really personalized experience. Like this guy who I was staying with, he sort of oversees the business of some like guy who's invested in Nicaragua or whatever. And he owns up farms. So I was like, oh, that would be fun to like kind of work on the farm a little bit, dude. So I was working with pigs.
Oh.
Have you ever worked with pigs?
I have not worked with them. No, I didn't. I didn't really know that they were like employable. I did not know that they could be coworkers and colleagues, and it kind of reminds me of Animal Farm.
Interesting.
So tell me about these pigs.
Okay, so dude, this guy Blake, what a great guy. And his girlfriend was so cool too, and they're friends. We had a really nice time. So the pigs. So I was like feeding the pigs and sort of like.
What were you feeding them?
So some sort of like corn grain thing. And then they also eat this thing that's a combination of beer and cheese.
Oh.
It's called like suerto or something.
Okay. All right.
Maybe.
They feed the pigs beer for real?
Beer and cheese, yeah.
Like actual alcoholic beer?
It's some combination of the two, and it's unclear how if the alcohol is burned out of it, or if it isn't and it doesn't affect the pigs or whatever. But dude, I'm not kidding you. When you show up with food, the way that these pigs, they'll kill each other to get. It's like,
oh god,
and it's like scary. And bro, it's like, dude, I'm coming over there. Like I have the bucket. You're all gonna get some. Like, can you guys please chill?
Yeah.
Like, what is wrong with you?
Well, have you ever been at a restaurant where the waiter took a really, really long time to bring the food out, and finally he did?
Fine,
but I get it.
Okay, fine.
I get how they feel.
But these fucking pigs, dude, and now it really made it. Oh, you're being a pig resonate. Like they are savage when it comes to food.
Greedy,
piggish, and and one pig got out of his little stall, and I sort of tried to get him back in, and that was sort of tough. I started going, get.
Yeah,
So I saw somebody else do that.
Yeah, nice.
Get. And then the pig kind of ran to the other end and then started sort of like running back towards me, which was not that fun. It was a big fucking pig.
Oh, you thought it was going to attack you?
No, but I just thought that it might not have the wherewithal to avoid me.
You didn't think it was going to try to do the move that Patrick Swayze and that woman from Dirty Dancing did?
What is that one again?
You know where it jumps into your arms and you lift it over your head?
Oh, it could have come to that.
I thought that's what it was doing. Don't you want to just get on the ground and roll around with the pig?
Sort of. Where they live is just like kind of a little nasty, but it's not like industrial farming nasty. They have plenty of room to sort of like putz around and do their thing.
Were they smiley?
Yeah, and the little ones were cute, dude. And I picked some of them up. Like the fur or whatever you want to even call it is like very tough, as you might imagine. The kind of like hide or whatever.
Yeah.
And
were they spotted or were they pure pink?
Some were spotted and some were pure pink.
Okay.
And the ones that I fed the beer cheese to, I kind of dumped it in there, and a pig from one of the other pens escaped his pen to run to the pen where the beer cheese had just, dude.
Who built this place?
Complete madness.
That's anarchy.
Then they asked me if I wanted to sort of like put hormones in the pigs. I initially said yes. Then I realized how much the pigs did not enjoy it, and it would require me sort of like using a needle. And I was like, all right, I'm going to pass on that.
Strange thing to agree to at all. I'm surprised you ever thought you would enjoy doing that.
I mean, it didn't seem like that. You know, didn't seem like too fucked up. But then they also offered to let me slaughter a pig, which I also declined.
Did you watch that happen?
No, I don't know.
How do they do it? They slit its throat?
I think something like that.
They put it in some sort of a guillotine?
They hang it up.
They hang it up and then they cut it.
So, yeah, it's not I wouldn't enjoy that very much. It sounds
me neither.
Pretty brutal. But I did hang out with some cows. And while I was hanging with the cows, the guy who works with the cows was there.
What animal would you be able to kill?
Probably none. Maybe an insect.
I'd kill a goose.
You'd kill it. If it was attacking me, I could kill it. No problem
killing a goose.
An animal that was attacking me.
If I were on a farm and they said, "Hey, we were having goose for dinner. We got a goose. Kill it." I would say, "Okay."
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I don't like geese.
Good to know.
I have a major problem with geese right now.
Good to know.
Yeah. Sorry, keep going.
No, it's okay. I one day hope to have the opportunity to call you on that and be like, "Oh yeah, Francis is open to killing the goose. You don't have someone who'll kill the goose, dude? Look no further. Here he is."
Yeah, I'll do it with my bare hands.
I'll
take its beak and rip it open the way that King Kong did in that movie Kong versus Kong Island or something. The T-Rex that it killed.
Versus Kong.
Whatever the fuck that stupid movie was. Skull Island.
Oh yeah. But yeah, the cows, the guy who works with the cows loves the cows.
Oh, that's good to hear.
And it was funny. So we were like interviewing him kind of.
Yeah.
And we're like, "So dude, like what's up? Like you like the cows?" And he was speaking Spanish, but he then just started talking about every specific detail of the day where he's like feeding the cows, but he started being like, "Dude, I love feeding the cows. I love milking the cows. I love when the cows get pregnant. I love," he listed every single one of his duties and said how much he loved it with the biggest smile. And it was really nice to be around.
It's amazing, dude. Imagine liking your work that much.
I know.
I like my work, but my God, I don't love the microphone, and I don't love when the microphone gets wet, and I don't know.
Dude, this guy loved it. Juancito. And then we had heard that a tree had gone down in the forest.
If a tree falls in the forest, do the cows even hear it?
Yeah, exactly. So we went on this like long walk with no path that the guy somehow knew exactly how to get there, which I found pretty impressive. Classic as well. Yeah. And what they were going to do, they were going to make furniture with this giant tree that had fallen. Yeah.
He's probably done that walk before.
I know, but like it seemed as if there was no route. I know, dude, but I'm saying it wasn't like
I'm just being an asshole.
It didn't seem like a walk.
It didn't seem like it?
No, but you know what I mean? Like there was no path. There was no, we were just walking through a bunch of different parts of the woods. Obviously he knew where he was going, but to me it was impressive that they had this knowledge of this greater area.
That is cool.
The forest is protected.
Doing by like feel or something.
Or what? Yeah. I know that he's been in and out and he knows it, whatever, but it still was impressive to me.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to cut trees down. So when one goes down, you take advantage, you make wood out of it.
Oh.
Or sorry, you make furniture.
Got it.
So they have a carpenter, he fucking carves it up. There was a bunch of monkeys that were hanging, which was cool.
I love monkeys.
Yeah.
What kind of monkeys?
I don't know.
Spider monkeys?
I have videos of it. Well,
chimpanzees?
No, they weren't chimpanzees. They were like some sort of like Central American monkey, but they were like being, their mischievous selves.
Making lots of noise.
Yeah.
Swinging around, hanging by their tails.
Exactly.
Telling jokes to each other.
Going,
Were they?
Dude, to the point where I was like, dude, it's crazy that monkeys just sound like the human impression of monkeys. And he's like, dude, because monkeys are humans. Dude. And I was like, whoa, yeah bro, whoa. So yeah, dude, it was just what a fun experience getting to do all the like farm stuff and fucking a bat shit on me though, which was like not that fun.
That's how you start a new plague.
I know. And bats are sort of on the outs these days to begin with. Not that they were ever in.
Mm-hmm.
And we were exploring sort of a like prison where they used to torture people, where there was still blood spatter on the walls and shit. And nothing caps off, they're like, he's like, oh, this is the solitary confinement room where there's no light at all. And they put people in here for 5 years.
Oh my God.
And nothing like tops that story off than bats flying over your head, like multiple bats, a dozen bats.
That's, yeah. In a confined area, bats are not fun. Although I did learn that they eat a ton of mosquitoes, something like 14,000 mosquitoes a night. That doesn't seem right, but something tells me Ryan's going to look that up.
Right. They're good for the ecosystem.
They're really good. Yeah. How many mosquitoes does a bat eat on a given night?
But dude, nobody that we were with seemed to be that concerned about the bats, which was just like shocking to me because they were flying really close to your head.
Mm-hmm.
Like you'd be ducking, but nobody else was like,
well, what do they do?
Bluff.
They bite you? Do they scratch you with their talons?
If they bite you, you get rabies, or you can get rabies. And people were concerned for me. I posted a story of them flying around. And then one shit on me. And I had it wasn't that pleasant having bat shit on you.
So that's what an animal heavy part of the trip. That's amazing.
Very animal heavy. Yeah, whatever. It was one of those trips was likely to be. Nice to have a local host. Had a great time. And nice.
And that was all in El Salvador, all the bats and
No.
That was Nicaragua?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And then you flew home from El Salvador.
Yes. And dude, they have solid lounge situation in El
Really?
Salvador in the airport. Yeah. The Managua airport is a little more basic. But yeah, the Avianca lounge, which is pretty pathetic, but food wise, at least, I guess the setup was okay.
All in all, trip.
All in all, a lot of fun. And one of my biggest regrets, man, when I lived on the Upper East Side and they had all those native Spanish speaking people in the house who I interacted with every single day. If I just forced them to speak Spanish to me only, I'd speak Spanish now.
Yeah.
And I don't. And it sucks to show up and just be a hopeless gringo who doesn't speak another language.
Yeah.
And people like mock you without even trying to. There are people who thought that I was Nicaraguan. I guess they thought that I looked like, oh, are you Nica? And I was like, no. And then they'd be like, you don't speak Spanish? I'd be like, no. And they'd be like, oh yeah, she's like, I speak Spanish and English. She's like, it's too bad you don't speak Spanish.
They said that?
Yeah, but like not even in a judgmental way.
Right.
But I was like, no, you're right. You're very right about that.
Yeah. I wonder how much better my life would be sometimes if I spoke Spanish.
It certainly would make it slightly easier in many situations.
Probably have more friends.
It would open you up to new connections. Have you ever eaten a pupusa?
No.
It's like
that?
a Central American. It's like, I think El Salvador is famous for them. It's sort of like some version of like, it's like it's not like a taco. It's like whatever the ingredients are, it's sort of like molded in with the dough.
Oh.
And then they toss them on the grill, and it's like you can tell if somebody's good at making them because they do a good toss where it kind of goes up and lands like a discus almost.
Super cool.
Dude, yeah.
That looks super good.
Yeah, they're mad good, dude. And at one point, the lady who's making them, we went to a really good place, did like one of the kind of the most like baller moves I've ever seen. She like tossed the pupusa perfectly. It landed, started sizzling, saw me looking, gave me a wink. I was like, oh, dude, I'm shook.
Wow.
I'm shook.
That is cool. and how much was a dinner in El Salvador?
El Salvador uses the dollar, so it's like not as cheap, but like you could get 3 pupusas per person and drinks and dessert for like $20. But like,
nice. What about Nicaragua?
It's not that cheap. Nicaragua, it varied, but overall cheap. Not like mind-shockingly blowing.
Right.
But like, you'd order Uber Eats and it would be, $15 total.
Okay. Pretty
Whereas
good.
here it would have been 35 type of thing.
Right. Nice.
But dude, really kind of interesting to be in a place that has kind of like a weird reputation.
Yeah.
Was sort of like under the Eastern Bloc influence during the Cold War.
That's right.
And a place where, our parents' generation associated with kind of like hostility.
Totally.
The whole Iran-Contra thing.
I'm gonna have to read up on that.
It's a little confusing, but Ryan, if you could do a little Iran-Contra, sorry that we're sort of forcing you to look things up. But the, sort of like funding something with something else. I forget exactly what was happening there. But anyway, to see the sort of effects of that, and that regime from that time period is still the in power there.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The Sandinistas. So anyway, whatever. It was cool.
Awesome, dude.
Yeah.
You got some good footage and stuff?
Yeah. It's always a challenge to put a story together. The Bitcoin stuff will be easier because it's more straightforward. But the Nika video will take me a little while.
Nice.
But pretty cool.
Well, I'm glad you're back, pal.
Appreciate it.
Dude, that is scary though. Being sick in a foreign country when you don't know where the nearest hospital is, you don't know how bad it's going to get.
Yeah.
A stomach virus when you're traveling, you have no idea. You don't know if it's like a parasite or a bigger problem.
So that you start to have that thought certainly while it's all happening, right? And like typically food poisoning, you just kind of ride it out. It's usually short, it's intense but short, but you do have that fear. You're like, okay, like I need to keep fluids in me somehow, like this, and you it can be worrisome. In this particular area, getting to a hospital would have been difficult.
Yeah, I bet.
I don't think I was that close to one. Now, if I had to get to one, I could. And I have always found that foreign hospitals always exceed my expectations. They're always affordable, and they get the job done. You know what I mean? So if you have an emergency, I never feel worried about having proper care.
Well, that's pretty good of you.
You don't want to have, you don't want to have to get your arm amputated.
Right.
Like you don't want to have to do or have a heart transplant.
Orthopedic knee surgery.
You don't want to have a shotgun massive procedure.
There's nobody.
You don't want to do that here.
There's nobody in El Salvador who's like, oh, you're having your ACL repaired? I have the best guy. I know the best ACL guy in El Salvador.
But I mean, but
we say that here.
But that guy might exist. That you know what I mean? You just don't know. So it's not ideal. You know what I mean? But I think that food poisoning most hospitals could handle around the world. So I know that, but getting there is the problem in this scenario. The people that I'm with are sleeping and probably have been partying a bit. So like that's going to be tough. I don't know a number for a taxi. If it were to get there, that's certainly a thing that goes through your head. But fortunately, it wasn't a big deal. And I've unfortunately also been there before. I've gotten sick on trips.
Yeah.
Which people have to remind me of.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even understand the point of reminding me if I'm like, oh dude, I'm so sick. This idea of like, well, you know what you were getting yourself into. I'm like, okay, fine, dude. But that doesn't mean that like I deserve to be sick because
are people trying to tell you asked for it?
Yes. And I think there are there's the type of friend who's active in your life, and that can be positive and negative. It can become oppressive because sometimes if they don't understand what you're doing, they don't like it. Or if they don't relate to your desire to do something, they just don't like it. Or you can tell that they are judging you.
Is it?
And I don't like that. I'm not like that with people, so I don't like receiving that energy, but I try to just deflect.
Well, is there nothing to be said for the fact that perhaps they are concerned?
That's complete, and that's so true and totally fine. But I think that in the specific instance of me being sick, that's a completely fair point. But in the general sense of me enjoying traveling around, I think that I should get more leniency from people for it. Because it's just what I like to fucking do. You know what I mean? I don't give you shit for whatever you like to do type of thing.
But I'm your friend,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think I give you shit.
You don't.
But I definitely get a little worried about you sometimes. What, like I said to you,
your level of being worried, I would find to be quite appropriate. I'm being serious.
I told you we talked on the phone yesterday, and I said, man, when you're away, I feel it.
Yeah.
Because we talk on the phone so often and we see each other so often.
Yeah.
And then if you're all of a sudden in El Salvador or Iraq or wherever, I'm like, God damn, I hope everything's okay. I hope he's okay. And inevitably you are. You're not somebody who, like, I could see you if you were to find trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was some border guard shaking you down or whatever it is, or some person that was angry at you. You're so smooth. You're a very smooth guy. You're likable. You've got a good giggle. You throw a couple of those giggles at one of those border guards, maybe, hand them a few shekels, whatever it is. I think you're better at getting out of that. Whereas me, if it were me, something would go wrong. You know what I mean? Like I would try to stop someone from using the breakdown lane in El Salvador, and I'd find myself in really bad trouble. Yeah.
I appreciate that, dude. I certainly think about that kind of stuff sometimes, especially like going through customs. Sometimes I'll try to scope out the line with the guy who like looks the sweatiest. Like sweaty people tend to be like friendlier. Like a sweaty guy who I know is going to like joke around with me. And you don't want the serious border guy. That's never fun.
No.
On the flight back from El Salvador, there was a guy screaming, "Take your passports out." And I was going to global entry. I don't have to take my passport out. So I completely ignored him. And then he started screaming in my face, "Take out your passport." And I was like, "What? I'm sorry. Like what's going on?" Like, this is a separate thought. So I'm sorry.
No. But what did he do?
Nothing. Because I don't have to take my fucking passport out.
Why do you not need to?
Because I'm going through global entry.
Oh, nice.
So this guy's making assumptions. It's like, no, your job is not to assume no one has global entry. Your job is to.
This was in New York?
Yeah. Dude, and it also makes you realize, dude, JFK, it's like coming into America is like pretty intimidating.
It's not great.
As maybe I understand why, like traumatic things have happened to us from, visitors coming and causing trouble. So I understand why the legacy's there, but it's stressful. Take out your passport. Fuck off, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of my face.
Yeah.
Anyway, I do appreciate the compliment.
I don't disagree one bit, man. Because returning to that international arrivals terminal at JFK, I think it's Terminal 5. I'm pretty sure it's either 4 or 5. And there may be a few, there's one where you feel it is today's version of landing at Ellis Island.
Yeah.
Where it is utter chaos, the sheer volume of people arriving. I don't know how the flights aren't more staggered. Even with global entry, it's unclear that you have to go up, take the photo of yourself, scan your face, and then walk back to get in the line with that little white receipt, which you then wait to give to the guard at the front.
Yeah.
And there's no one really directing all of that.
Yeah.
So there's people cutting. And then you gently try to let them know, but the chances are they're not.
Oh, like people at global entry, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You want to help people, but I don't know.
Right. If there's other people globally entering, yeah, totally. It gets a little confusing. And dude, I'm grateful to be American for what some of my goals in life are, because for example, my passport right now, if I were not American, I have voided the visa waiver program by visiting Iraq. So if I were Italian and I had an Iraq visa in my passport, I now have to apply for a visa to come to America.
Wow, that's wild.
There's like a few countries on the list. But for me, no problem.
Let's ask ourselves this, Giulio. With all of this passion for travel and your love of America, if the world of comedy went dark tomorrow, what is the job you would pursue?
Does that mean we can't pod anymore?
Sure. Let's say that everything we know and everything that you do now that helps you make money is dead.
Oh, man. Fuck. I'd have to spend a long time thinking about that. I'd want it to be something that gave me the same kind of flexibility that this life that I have gives me, because, we've sort of like carved it out for ourselves.
Mhm.
It's not a thing that you can just do. You have to figure it out.
So you wouldn't want to try to become an ambassador or somebody who worked at the United Nations?
No,
No.
it just seems like a super bureaucratic, boring job.
Yeah.
But I mean, it could be kind of cool. But I like having roots. You know, I don't feel the need to be traveling constantly. Like I like my home. I like my life here. I just enjoy traveling. Like it doesn't mean that I don't even like being gone for more than a week or so.
Right.
Necessarily. So I don't know, man. I don't really know. But it would be fun to try to like. I'm already trying to make this into a thing that becomes an income stream too.
Yeah.
But while that's happening, I need to figure something out because
Understood.
You know.
Yeah. Well, luckily, that was a dumb question
No.
and
It's not.
hypothetical
It's
and
a good.
not needed to be answered because
Not a
it
dumb
is
question.
going well.
Well, dude, I have a point that I want to hit on
Yeah,
here.
please.
So you know, I'm staying with a stranger down here, right? I've never met this guy in my life, but you do a little sniff. You know, you sniff him out a little.
Was he a pod listener?
I believe so. Yeah.
Is that how he connected? You
Yep.
guys got connected?
Yep.
Okay.
DM'd me. Word of wisdom to our listeners: if you invite me somewhere, I might actually come. So if you don't want me to come, don't invite me because I will.
Don't worry about me not happening.
But dude, this guy, Blake, wonderful guy. And there was a couple of things about him that I really respected. So first of all, we hang out in Managua the first night. And then the next day we're like doing stuff in Managua, whatever. And he never once mentions that the place that we're going to end up staying near the farm is a sick house.
Oh.
I didn't expect to be poolside at any point on the
Come
trip.
on.
Poolside at a sick house overlooking the ocean, dude.
You're joking me.
No, doesn't mention it once.
What?
To
That's
not-
awesome.
To not lead with that is an unbelievably respectable.
It's so
quality.
rich too.
He never and you know I guess like it was his parents' place. He's like, you know, it's my parents' place. It's not my place. That's also a very respectable thing. But he never was like, dude, the house we're going to. It was in like a community. It was so sick, like an expat community.
I don't have that ability. If I have
don't
set
think I do
anything
either.
nice up for people, I am telling them
Same.
the whole way there, you are not going to believe
How sick
what
the
we're about to
setup
get
is.
ourselves into. You're welcome. I did this. You're going to give me some credit now, but once we get there, it's going to be even more credit. And if it's not enough credit, I'll be resentful.
Dude, Blake and Ariana, wonderful hosts, and they were so thoughtful in planning our itinerary for us and understanding what it is I'm trying to do. That's super helpful to sort of like you over time, the audience starts to understand the objective,
Yeah.
and it just becomes this amazing kind of group project in a way.
That's cool.
That was just so special and fun. But dude, so one thing that I found interesting about Nicaragua, I met a few people, including Blake, who had sort of these like different moments in their lives where they're trying to figure out their purpose and their calling. And somehow it led them to Nicaragua, where they're now thriving. So we went around with Blake to do the rounds. He's sort of this guy in the neighborhood that like, if you need lemons, Blake's your guy.
Really?
So he like knows the local fishermen. He knows, and we're traveling around and he's like constantly on the phone, like, yo, papacito, hombre, like talking to people.
Fluent in Spanish? Nice.
And it's so cool. It's like, good for you, man. And we met a couple people out too. This one guy was like, yo, bro, he's like, I got deported to Nicaragua. He's like, I used to live in Miami. I got arrested for a bullshit gun charge. He's like, I did 5 years. He's like, I was a loser. He's like, now I live here, bro. He goes, I own a business. I'm killing it. And now I got like 10 guns, bro. And then this other guy too, he's like, yo, man, I'm from Texas. He's like, I came down here to meet my partner. I love partner.
Uh-huh.
He's like, came down here to meet my partner. He's like, I don't want to go back, bro. He's like, they got everything here. He's like, light-skinned women, they got them. Dark-skinned women, they got them. Skinny women, they got them. Big women, they got them. And I love big women, bro. He's like, I've been to Afghanistan. And I'm like, I don't understand the correlation there, but somehow I think I get what you're saying. Maybe, like, I don't know. But dude, like, so there's a lot of this. It's sort of like these people finding their way in life in a place they never expected. I found to be fascinating.
That's really cool.
Certainly had a good time. Last thing, I saw must have been a 7-year-old girl breastfeeding standing up, which I've never seen in my life.
What? What?
The mom was sitting on a chair.
Oh. The 7-year-old was
Breast-
drinking from the mother's breast.
Standing.
Like it was a water fountain.
I was like, I can't believe I just saw that. That is phenomenal.
Someone was talking to me recently about a woman they knew who was there's a term for it. There's a term for comforting.
I know what you're talking. I don't know the
like
term.
kids that still breastfeed late in their
Is it
lives.
comfort feeding? I don't know the term. Ryan's gonna
Comfort
find it.
food, comforting,
No, that's fried pickles.
and like mac and cheese. What is it? It's Ryan, we probably need this answer now, not at the end of the episode, because we're stuck.
Speaking of, have you been to New Orleans before? While he's looking this up.
No, I've never.
What a fucking, if you've never been to New Orleans, that is the place in America where you will feel the most like you're not in America in a special and fun way. Culturally
Interesting.
rich, amazing city.
I'd like to go.
It's really, I'm going to be there August 20th, by the way.
Nice.
Didn't mean to.
Tickets at not
Julio.com.
Julio.com.
Really, really special town. I think you'd love it.
I believe it.
You should, yeah.
No, I'd like to go. The French Quarter.
Yeah, it's super fun.
Wait, Ryan, comforting?
I think it describes the culture too. Like I've seen somebody whip their titty out when I was at lunch with them. Like I was with my boy and his wife, whips it out, didn't warn me. I've never seen her do it before.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't care, but I was just kind of like, okay.
So let's talk about this really quickly, because this is something that I'm curious about. Breastfeeding, right? In general. I have friends whose wives that I've known a long time and have now had kids and are breastfeeding. And obviously we and we might have talked about this before.
We've talked about breastfeeding in general, but
I want to ask you again, because this is the thing, right? So we are normalizing breastfeeding, which probably is overdue and is totally normal and no big deal, right?
Mhm.
But I'm sorry, as a friend of my buddy, when his wife pulls out her, breast,
Mhm.
her swollen breast, to start feeding a baby,
you see that?
I feel rude.
You see that blue vein, dude?
Yeah, I
fucking
feel
pulsing.
rude looking.
Okay.
So
I feel
instantly,
you turn
there's
away.
this. No, it's more like there's a switch in my brain that says, lock eyes and do not look down. So look at me. I make better eye contact when a woman when she's breastfeeding than I would if we were having a staring contest.
Interesting.
And
It's a fair impulse, but I think you're overthinking it.
and I'm in my head going, don't look at the breast. Don't look at the breast. It's there. You don't need it. You don't need to see it. It's not for you to see. But it's almost so much that I wonder if I'm being rude by not looking at the breast. Am I being non-progressive by not watching the breastfeeding?
I hear what you're saying. I don't think you need to manufacture any sort of reaction. I think your natural reaction would be acceptable.
Well, my natural reaction, if all things considered, would probably to be really studying it, because it's so fascinating to me.
I think it would be fun.
And I don't see it that often.
If you do, dude, part of me thinks that I don't remember what I did specifically, but I could easily see myself being like, nice, dude. Fuck yeah.
God.
Yep.
I asked Sierra about it, and she goes, you're being a bitopotamus.
What's that?
It's when I don't even realize that I'm doing a bit.
Oh, that is funny that she calls you out on that.
Yeah. She goes, and she's got terms for it.
Bitopotamus.
She called me a bitopotamus.
So for those of you who don't know, comedians love to work out their bits on people. Sometimes they don't even know they're doing it.
I didn't know I was doing it.
And sometimes people are, sometimes they're working out a bit, or sometimes they're literally trying a bit. Both are sort of frowned upon, but sometimes you can't help that you might just be saying something funny, and then you're like, oh man, this could be funny.
That's how it was for me.
Yeah.
I was describing my reaction to watching a friend's wife breastfeed, and I was describing it in such terms that it was punchier than a normal recounting of a story.
And it's typically frowned upon in the comedy community, and if you're around it enough in general, because it's like, okay, buddy, you're not on stage right now. Stop being
I'm
so
just
needy.
talking to her, and she sniffed
That
it
is
out
funny as fuck.
instantly. She goes, oh, you're doing a little bit hippopotamus.
Bitopotamus.
And I was like, excuse me? Now, we've also got a couple other terms we've come up with, which we use them now as like red flags for curbing behavior that without being rude about it.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm talking shit, because Sierra hates when people talk shit and doesn't engage in it herself,
what a good quality.
she goes, oh, you digging for some shiitake mushrooms? Shiitake mushrooms.
That's very
now,
good.
I actually came up with that one.
That's a good one.
So I can't give her credit for it. I want the credit for that.
Shiitake mushrooms.
Shiitake mushrooms.
How is that going for you, by the way? Are you trying to become less of a shit talker?
I'm so much better at it now. It's like anything, dude.
It really improves your outlook on life, I feel like.
Yeah, and you just realize like there's no reason to.
Waste of energy.
And it's like low. It's low, and we all do it so often. It's so easy to slide into it. It's like people can bond when they're talking shit about somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And yet the harder thing to do is to not do it, but you will feel better if you don't engage in just sewering someone who's not with you.
Uh-huh. So I think that there's a healthy balance. I would argue that most comedians overdo it.
Totally.
And it's like super fucking toxic and then ruins your own outlook of yourself. You start like really monitoring your own behavior, thinking, oh, what would my shit talky mushroom self say about me right now? And then suddenly you are paralyzed and you can't do anything.
Yeah, and exactly. I know you've mentioned this before, where it's like you assume it makes you realize that people are probably talking shit about you.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll go one step even further with the toxicity. My response when I have that thought is, oh, I doubt they're talking shit about me. I'm not even worth talking shit about.
Oh, interesting.
Like I'm not even on people's radar enough for them to have a negative outspoken opinion of me.
Oh my God.
I don't matter.
Oh God. Yeah.
And then you just sort of tuck your chin to your clavicle and slink off like Charlie Brown. That's what happens to me. And that whole cycle is
It's bad.
Whew.
It's a good initiative. It's funny. I don't have that thought, but I do think that I do like really, if I'm talking shit a lot, then like I'm very self-conscious about posting pretty much anything and doing a lot of stuff. And when I'm not like that, and I realize too, like there's so many people, the people who like don't do it have a much more positive relationship with their career and their growth.
Yeah.
Like they're trying, they try. Right. And because the fear of failure isn't as bad with them because they don't sit around shitting on people for being losers all day, which is what so many comedians do. So I think our challenge to you as our listeners are to talk less shit. See how it makes you feel.
Yeah, you'll find you'll like it more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also you'll dislike the people that you would be talking about shit about less. And that's a nice thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But we were on something.
Sorry.
Breastfeeding. Yeah.
Beefeating.
The point remains that I don't know what the middle ground is for witnessing breastfeeding. And Sierra made this point, which was that, breastfeeding is already an isolating thing, that women for so long have felt the need to cover it up or to go into a separate room to do it, and to have to leave the gathering to do this thing, which is so normal, and so many women go through it, and all of that. We shouldn't do that. We shouldn't expect that they need to forge their own privacy wall in order to do this normal thing.
Right.
And I totally agree with that. I want to help. I want to help normalize it.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to tell me where to look. I need to be told where I'm allowed to look and where I should look if you want me sort of dazedly drooling and looking at the suckling and almost thinking like, boy, I'd love to be part of that. That's one extreme, right? Or staring at the ceiling as it's happening. That's the other extreme. What's the middle ground? And for me, it was like lock eyes, don't blink. Lock eyes, don't blink. Don't even let your eyes wander.
How many times have you experienced this?
A few times.
Yeah. Same person typically?
No, I mean different women. And it's, it's this It is a crazy leap to go from respecting the bodily privacy of your friend's girlfriend, wife, all these years, where if my God, if she were on the beach and she went swimming and a wave removed her bikini top, I would have the decency to look away, right? For her sake. So that's in my mind,
right?
All of this time. And now all of a sudden, if I do that, same body part, I'm shaming. I'm a monster.
Here's the good news for you. The forsaken part of the breast that you're not allowed to look at, the nipple, is only exposed for a short period of time.
Yeah, but dude, even if I were looking at cleavage, I'd be in trouble.
Yeah, but like, the people, friends wear bikinis, they wear thong bikinis. That we like. The nipple is the like not allowed on 5 p.m. TV part of the teeth.
Yes, you're right, but if it's a friend's wife or girlfriend, or even if I'm just in polite society, I'm not supposed to stare at breasts.
Dude,
I'm not supposed to.
Knowing this now, it makes me want to get you in like an uncomfortable position where like somebody's
just bring me into a nursing gathering, some kind of gallery of
You're
9 women who just feeding their 9 babies at the same time. Hey, everybody.
You're with a couple and just like you accidentally glance and the guy's like, oh yeah, you notice those, huh? She's got a pair of pups on her, doesn't she? That's right.
I just don't know. And I'm so sorry. But when we normalize things in society, I think it's important to remember, and I'm not asking for favors here, but when we change things, right? Whether as we normalize breastfeeding, as we normalize understanding the trans community, there is it would help if it could be spelled out for the idiots like me to know how to treat these new things and the way that those people want to be treated. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because forgive me for being ignorant for so long. I'm sorry. I realize that I've been that way. And now if there's a new way forward, just teach me the idiot's guide to witnessing breastfeeding. Teach me the idiot's guide to pronoun usage. And I will get on board as fast as possible. I really will.
I don't think it's a problem. Willingness to be, appropriate and functioning in an ever-changing world will never really set you back, I don't think. If you're trying, as dense as you might be.
That's a very good point.
Willingness to learn and try to be friendly with new ideas. It's hard to. I think you'll be okay.
You're absolutely right about that. And again, that's why I'm not complaining about this.
Yeah. Should we do an email?
Yeah.
Love it. Okay. This one's called College Relationships. Hello, good sirs. I'm a longtime listener and really value your opinions on various aspects of life. Thank you.
That's kind.
I'm about to enter my second year of college, and I was wondering what your opinions were on whether or not is it a good idea to have a girlfriend in college. I go back and forth with this idea myself because on one hand, I want to experience college to the fullest with all my boys, but on the other hand, the right lady would also be nice. However, I look at some of my friends who have girlfriends, and they seem to only to ever hang with them as opposed to their friends. And when they do go out with us, they are either overly fulfilled with "I love you, man" conversations, or if they come out with us and their girlfriend is there too, then they end up getting in arguments that are awkward for everyone else in the group. I know not all relationships are like that, and this is just what I have been experiencing in my environment, but I'm curious to know your thoughts on college relationships. For what it's worth, you guys have provided me with a lot of good life lessons for navigating my young adult life. So for that, I thank you, and we thank you too, sir. So what do you got?
Okay. If it's possible, there's no way to avoid it unless you're a crazy person. I think relationships find you. Ideally, you will not have a serious boyfriend or girlfriend in college.
Right.
Ideally.
But it could easily happen.
But if it happens,
yeah,
great.
Say hunker down.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
You can't stop yourself because to do so is a psychopath move.
Yeah. And a lot of the stuff that he's describing sounds sort of like young relationship things
In general.
that don't, it doesn't end up, just so you know, it gets better. This sort of like the second somebody has one drink too many, all of a sudden it's always a fight.
Fights.
And the like, they only hang out alone now and don't hang out with the group. A lot of this stuff is like very immature. It's just like young and like, you just kind of like learn and like you're jealous and like you kind of learn how to get past it. So in a way, I think it's important to sort of learn that as early as you can.
Yeah.
But yeah, to Francis's point, like a relationship will find you and you don't got to resist. You know what I mean? Have your fun when the time's available. Have your girlfriend when it comes, and just try to, okay. So there's efforts you can make to avoid the things that you're describing. So when you see yourselves getting too comfortable with not being social, not hanging out, try to make sure that the dynamic that you have with your girlfriend is sustainable in the dynamic that you have with your friends. And if it's not, you have an unhealthy relationship. If you can't be your same self with your friends as you are with your girlfriend, that's not good. You should be able to have a situation where you can do both. And if you don't have that, you should strive for it and even force yourself to go out and hang with people.
Yeah, you shouldn't be code switching when you're with your girlfriend. No code switching.
Totally. You shouldn't be. And also, you know, if your girlfriend's picking fights with you and you guys are getting drunk, or if you're picking fights with her, maybe you guys should break up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but dude, it's so easy to say that. And
I know.
And here's the thing, right?
But important to say.
Life, serious relationships are so much more fun and doable when you're older, because the stuff that you can do in a serious relationship when you're older is way better than the stuff that you can do in a serious relationship in college. So what I mean is, going out to dinner, right? That's a serious relationship thing. Going on a trip together, that's a fun, serious relationship thing. Those kinds of things are not as doable in college.
That's true.
Because you don't have income.
Right.
Right? But you do when you're older, and it's fun. Those are the fun things to do.
Yeah.
When you're younger and you're in college, you know, not getting much sleep, you know, just going a couple doors down to hook up on someone's futon and pretend to watch a movie together for 15 minutes before you're, you know, going at it. Like, that's not as fun when you're older.
Totally.
But it's fun in college.
It's great.
And I just think that if you can avoid it, it will be waiting for you and will be way more fun to have a serious boyfriend or girlfriend later in your 20s once you join the workforce, all of that. But I mean, I had a very serious relationship in college for like almost all of college, pretty much. And, you know, I definitely missed out on a lot of the fun stuff that my buddies were doing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like I didn't have a choice. Yeah. I loved the person that I was dating. Mm-hmm. So what was I supposed to do? Just like ignore feelings, block myself off emotionally for the sake of chugging pitchers with my boys?
Right.
No.
Right.
It's ridiculous. It's not a human way to behave. So you can't really make a promise to yourself, you know, in college. I can say that it's better not to if you can, but if you meet the right person, great. And also, last thing, just because you dated someone in college does not mean that you have to marry them. Because I think a lot of people will say, like, well, if you're going to be in a relationship all through college, it better last.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it could and it might, and that's great, but, you know, don't think because you made it through that hard part of staying together and you had all those fights at all those frat parties and it made you stronger that, you know, all of a sudden it's like, well, I guess we should get married at 24 or 25.
Totally.
Ryan,
what do you got?
You had a relationship for all of college, right? Or much of college. And now you guys are still going strong. So that's really good.
Yeah.
That is good.
I've been dating. I was single my first year of college. And then, I met my girlfriend the next year. We dated all through then and all through now. and it worked out fine.
Positive
I had a
experience.
great college experience.
There you go.
Friend groups intertwined, good vibes, no regrets.
Love to see it.
Love to hear that. You got any facts for us?
I got quite a few today.
Uh-oh. Facts with Ryan. Sounds like we were telling some tall tales. Sounds like we were cutting corners on the truth.
Well, some of them are just questions that need answers.
Yes.
So
Yeah, that's
not
a good point.
necessarily something wrong.
Okay.
So jam versus jelly. That episode was episode 229.
Nice.
August 21st, 2021.
Nice.
If you want to go back and
Well
find
done.
it.
Well done.
Nicaragua is the poorest country in Central America. Number 4 is El Salvador. Number 3 is Guatemala. Can you guys guess number 2?
Honduras.
Correct. The beer cheese, this was tough. The only thing I could find was Obatzer, which is German. I couldn't find anything specific about
Pigs.
for that. But the local
It's just what
the
it is.
local beer in Nicaragua is Tonya.
Yeah. Tonya and Classico.
Yeah. So
Nice.
there's that.
Sick.
Mosquitoes eat approximately 7,000 insects per night.
Bats, you mean?
Bats.
7,000 insects per night? Damn.
Wow,
Yes.
I said 14,000.
Yeah, not
I was
far off.
just twice.
You were just a multiplier away.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Iran-Contra affair. The Reagan administration,
Reagan,
they used earnings from weapons sales to Iran to
Yeah,
illegally
that's it.
fund the Contras. And then the Reagan administration secretly hired Iranian agents to fight against the Contras.
Oh,
Mhm.
wow.
Sort of like playing both sides.
Crazy.
Because you guys mentioned torture again,
please,
very
let's-
briefly, I figured that I'd search another fun one for you.
Great. We
Good
love
for you.
this.
So
love
we
this.
have sawing. You guys heard of that before?
No.
Okay, so everyone from the Persians to the Imperial Chinese practiced some form of death by sawing. Often the victim was hung upside down, thereby increasing blood flow to the head, and a large saw was placed between his or her legs. The executioners would slowly cut the person's body in half, drawing out
Oh my God.
drawing out the process in order to make death as painful as possible.
Oh my God.
And that is sawing.
That's terrible. Oh my God. It's terrible. I wish that on no one in history.
What the fuck?
Dude, oh my God.
Dude, you're talking about the Persian Empire. So that is a hand saw. That's two guys on either side of the body, probably doing the old lumberjack push, pull, push.
That was the illustration next to it.
Oh boy.
Thanks, Ryan.
Terminal 4 handles international arrivals at JFK. I couldn't find one for LaGuardia, but if you're over in New Jersey, Terminal B is where you're going to arrive at Newark if you're coming internationally. The breastfeeding situation, that was really tough to find the slang term. You said comforting.
Yeah.
I think that could be it. The only fact I could find was that it was referred to as extended breastfeeding.
Got it.
Okay.
And some people breastfeed their children up until the age of 15. So I
Damn.
read.
That's
And
serious.
apparently,
That's
if both
outrageous.
parties are okay with it, there's nothing wrong
that's
with
just
it.
foreplay at that point, dude.
It's just
At
incest.
15.
It's
Yeah.
incest. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, there we go.
Thank you, Ryan. That was
Appreciate it,
excellent.
Ryan.
Illuminating.
Some really troubling facts from Ryan today. Deeply unsettling facts from Ryan,
What
but
do you
you
got
never know
coming
what
up?
you're going to get. I am in Arlington, Virginia tomorrow night. I will be at the Draft House, not too far from downtown Washington, D.C. I can't wait to see you guys there. Tickets still available, francisellis.com. And then next weekend, July 28th to the 30th, I'm in St. Louis at Helium with Lil Sass from Barstool Sports, co-headlining. Hope to see you guys there. Also, francisellis.com. And Red Bank, New Jersey, August 10th, also with Lil Sass.
Awesome. I got Somerville, Massachusetts, July 24th, and Seattle, July 28th. Tickets on my website. I'm also going to be in New Orleans on August 20th for 2 shows. All this stuff is on my website, and I hope to see you guys at one of those.